Do you want to see what a $1,000 Casio looks like? I bet you do, and so do I. Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Yes indeed, today I'm going to review a Casio that costs 100 times more than the humble F91W. Now, not as much of an overreach as you might think by a Japanese brand. There are plenty of Grand Seikos that cost 100 times more than the humble Seiko 5. This is an Oceanus, it's a JDM only line, meaning you have to buy it straight from Japan. Now you saw the pop-up today. This is a semi-sponsored video and it's semi-sponsored by Buyee.com. They are a Japanese proxy buying service. I've actually used Buyee.com a number of times before. I bought my Seiko Sarks and my Seiko Sarb from them straight from Japan when they were getting hard to find a few years ago. They sent me an email a couple of months back asking if they could sponsor a video. They gave me a discount voucher and I could buy a JDM watch and talk about it on the channel, and I said, let me think about that for a minute. Yes, please, thank you, thanks very much. And here we are today. So before I flip the camera and get into the top-down review footage of the watch, I'll spend about 30 seconds running through the process and the pros and cons of using Buyee.com. So what did I buy then? Well, I had a look at Grand Seiko, but they're too expensive. I had a look at the top-end Citizen JDM stuff, but I don't really have the same connection with Citizen as a brand that I do with Casio as a brand. So I thought, why not go for the top of the tree, the Casio Oceanus 5000. Now, I promise you, I got a discount, but this one still cost me a pretty penny, far more than I've paid for a Casio in the past. Was it worth it? Am I in love with this $1,000 Casio? Let's find out just after I tell you about Buyee.com. Alright, welcome to Buyee. Now, I am a previous customer. Like I said, I bought my Seiko Sarks from them a few years ago and my Seiko Sarb a few years ago as well. So I already had an account. I'll leave a link in the description of the video. You can open your own account. There's always a few vouchers. Now you can basically buy as if you were in Japan. That means Yahoo Auctions, Yahoo Fixed Price, Rakuten Global Marketplace, and even Amazon Japan. So all of those Godzilla figurines you've always dreamed of are there for the taking. If you're looking at watches, really, it's Yahoo and Rakuten that are going to be the best places for you. I found the Oceanus 5000 that I was looking for on Yahoo. I was able to get the best price there. Confirm that it's a new item you're buying, add it to your shopping cart. Buyee will charge a small fee and then you pay them. It's shipped to them. They check it is what you want before they ship it to you. Obviously, you're liable for shipping and your own taxes at that point. So what are the pros and cons of Buyee then? Well, the pros, obviously, you can shop as if you were in Japan. That means you've got access to the second-hand market and those really hard to find JDM watches. You have a bewildering choice of different vendors therefore, and with a choice of vendors comes the best prices. I got this Casio about 10% cheaper than I could find it in any of the dedicated JDM websites online. The cons, well, it's not going to be as easy as if you bought from one of those dedicated JDM stores if you have a warranty issue, I don't think. Same warranty, 1 year international regardless, but not quite the same as dealing with a human being in a shop, and it's not quite as easy to use. I've used it a couple of times now, so I know my way around, but it's based on Google Translate, so again, not quite as easy as a shop. But hey, if you want the best choice and the best prices, Buyee, definitely worth considering. And there it is, or at least there is the box. I'm not going to take forever with the packaging with this one because I'm conscious there is quite a lot to get through with the watch itself. This Manta 5000 Oceanus hasn't had a lot of coverage on YouTube. Nick Shabazz, it's a beautiful thing. He made a half-an-hour video about one a couple of years ago. I urge you to check that out. I'm going to try and cover some of the basics operation as well as, of course, the usual dimensions and specs. Wrist shots, indoor and outdoor, and plenty of macro in this video. So there it is. That is what a $1,000 Casio watch looks like. You can have this or you can have 100 Casio F91Ws. The choice is yours, or roughly, given today's prices. So what do you get for your money? Well, in brief, you get the best finished Casio I've ever seen, the best finished titanium watch I've ever seen because it's titanium. It's incredibly slim. It connects to the atomic clock, it's Bluetooth, it's controlled by an app, it's got 2 time zones, it's got 20 months worth of charge, it switches itself off overnight. It is all kinds of smarts, this watch, or at least as smart as a non-smart watch can be anyway, and eminently wearable. Now, where do you measure this one? I'm measuring it at its narrowest point. I measure it at 40 mil. So 40 mil in diameter, 9.8 mil thick with a lug to lug. Again, slightly moot point here because it has an integrated bracelet. Effectively, that lug to lug is 43.5, so very, very compact. Lug width, integrated bracelet, comes in at about 21.5 here, narrows down to 18 and back up to 19 at the clasp. Sized up for me, 7-inch wrist. Because it's titanium, this one weighs in at 74 grams. You barely know this thing is there. It is a little slip of a watch on wrist, perhaps actually a little bit too little. More on that later on. They refer to the glass as 99% clear. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it means that it is barely there. It is barely noticeable from most angles. Really, only my Omega Aquaterra has got a piece of crystal that can rival this one. So yeah, you may be thinking, what do you get for your money with a Casio? You get an absolutely stunning piece of crystal for a start. And the case finish is absolutely gorgeous, way, way beyond anything I've seen on a titanium watch before. There is a rumour that these come out of the same factory as Grand Seiko cases. I wouldn't be surprised given the quality of polishing that is on offer here. It's sharp where it needs to be, it's smooth where it needs to be. It is just a lovely finished watch overall. That is a high polished titanium World Cities bezel there. Small crown etched with the Oceanus logo, that one's semi-guarded, and these are the 2 kind of operational buttons, the A button, B button, plus the crown acts as a third button as well on some occasions. Lovely titanium bracelet. You know, it's not going to be to everyone's taste, this one. It's a little bit chintzy overall with those colours, and because of the complexity of the bracelet, there are actually 2 links, as you can see there, one running all the way from end to end, and that mid link is actually a kind of separate link connecting those. You've got that high polished edge to the mid link and a high polished centre section running all the way down. Pin and collar system here, by the way, and a nice titanium clasp. Have a look at the underside of the clasp. How smooth is that? This thing, you really barely know that it is on wrist. Now, where is the micro adjust, Jody? Where are the half links? Well, it doesn't have either of those things, but it does have that. You have got basically one hole of micro adjust here, kind of in or out. Again, that means you're not guaranteed the perfect fit. Some of the other Oceanus models have 3 effective adjustment positions here, but this one only has 1. Hasn't bothered me. I mean, it's so light you can wear it loose, you can wear it round the knuckle if you really want to. Let's have a look at a bit of macro quite early today then, and we can have a look at the dial, we can have a look at those various sub-dials and see what functions, what capabilities this watch actually has. So 3 hands plus date, that's fairly obvious, the middle 3 hands, although the second hand actually doubles up as a stopwatch hand. I'll show you that one a little bit later on. The sub-dial up there at the 12 o'clock, that is a permanent 24-hour indicator for your home time. At the 9 o'clock, that is a second time zone, so effectively a GMT, this watch. Beneath that, at the 8 o'clock, is an AM PM indicator for the analog second time zone indicator at the 9 o'clock. And if you look at the more complex dial down there at the 6 o'clock, that is a day of the week indicator. I'm recording this one on a Tuesday. To the left of the day of the week is a battery indicator, high, medium or low. Beyond that is summertime or non-summertime. And above that, the AT and ST, that's it letting you know whether it's in stopwatch mode or not. Obviously over at the 3 o'clock, there is a day of the month with a frame around it. Let's bring it back to the studio and see how all of that works. So as briefly as I can manage, and I'm not known for my brevity, what does this watch do and how does it do it? Well, because it connects to the atomic clock, in theory, you never need to set this one. It will automatically adjust, perpetual calendar as well. So yeah, it'll just run and run straight out of the box. If you do not have the atomic clock, you can connect it to a Bluetooth app. I'll show you the functionality of that one later, and the time will automatically set there. If you do need to set the time manually, if you do need to go old school, that is also possible. You pull the crown out here to the first position, and the second hand will show you on the World City bezel your GMT hand. So currently I'm set to London. You can adjust that back and forth, and it does so in half hours. So good for the Adelaideans, or those of you who live on a slightly unusual time zone, or good for those of you who have best friends or business contacts in a slightly unusual half-hour second time zone. If you pull it out to the second crown position, the second hand will show you your home time, again on that World Cities bezel, down there at Sydney for me. Roll it back and forth, and yeah, it will automatically adjust once again in half-hour increments. Push the crown back in, yeah, that does say Sydney, push the crown back in, and what it does, this little hand down here will always give you a indicator of where your power charge is sitting at the moment. I'm sitting medium, somewhere between high and large, because this one has been lurking in a watch box. Once you've got those two times set, your home time and your second time zone, probably my favorite feature of this watch is that you can switch between the two at the touch of a button, that being this button up here, the A button. If you hold it down for a couple of seconds, there we go. It will start the switch between the two. It does take rather a long time, particularly if there's a discrepancy between the date of the two time zones. That's where video editing comes in handy. And there we are, the two time zones have flipped over. It's now pointing back to Tuesday because I was recording this little part of the video on a Wednesday, and the date has gone backwards from the 13th to the 12th. Very nice feature indeed, I must say. Those two 12:24 indicators have obviously flipped to match the main hands. If you want to reverse back, you hold that down for another couple of seconds, and we are off to the races once more. But I'm not going to show you that, so we're back to the elevator music. And we're back again. So yeah, a very neat little feature if you regularly travel between two countries with different time zones, or even cross state lines that have different time zones as well. Okay, so that little switcheroo happens in world time mode. When you're in world time mode, if you press the A button, it will show you your home city. Give it a couple of seconds and it will pick up the current time again. If you press the B button, it will show you whether you last received an atomic signal or not. It will always be N in my case because I have no access to the atomic clock down here in Australia. There is, however, a second mode, that being stopwatch mode. Now the stopwatch is a bit of a bonus feature. You're not going to be buying this one for the stopwatch feature, put it that way. Buy a chrono if you really want to have a stopwatch, but it's nice to have it nonetheless. It's just not particularly user friendly. Pull the crown out once, press the top button once, and then push the crown back in, and that will engage stopwatch mode. Now every time you push and pull the crown in, it'll do that whole thing where it tells you the current battery level indicator, but there we are. It's just gone to 12. So it's a 24-hour stopwatch. There we are. That little guy goes round to medium and then back round there. If you want to start the stopwatch, press that. Lapse once, and there we are. So the second hand is ticking now in seconds. Up there you're getting minutes and hours on the minute and hour hand, plus you're getting 12:24 on the AMP indicator down there. So yeah, like I said, it's a bit of a bonus feature. Nice to have a 24-hour stopwatch on this, and it doesn't affect the operation of the hour and minute hand obviously there, or the home time 12:24 hour indicator at the 12 o'clock. But yeah, that'll tick away for up to a day until you stop it and then reset it. And if you want to bring it back out of stopwatch mode, you pull that once more, press the A button again, push it back in, and voila, that will return to the GMT second time zone, and the watch will return to normal. Of course, after it tells me that the battery is on medium charge. What else does this thing do then? Well, those hands will automatically adjust. You can see it's hitting every second marker perfectly. They will automatically adjust if the watch gets a knock. You can also adjust them manually if the auto adjust feature isn't working. And that is even before we've discussed the Casio Oceanus app that connects your phone and your watch via Bluetooth. Now this perhaps means more to me in Australia because I don't have access to the atomic clock than it will do to people in the USA, China, Japan, or parts of Europe that do have access to the atomic clock. All you need to do to connect your phone with the watch is to press the B button for a couple of seconds. I'll let that go and hopefully it should connect. There we are. It changes on the app and it says connect. And there we are. The watch time has been adjusted. Perhaps you noticed they were slightly out of sync now, but now they are perfectly in sync, or at least they will be when it starts ticking. So this one, there's even a guide here on how to work your phone. It says hold down this or blah, blah, blah. View the guide and it tells you how to switch between the stopwatch mode and the world time mode. Status here, it gives you a self-adjustment status, when the watch last adjusted itself, how your charge is going. Obviously, if you leave this one on a window ledge more than a watch box like I have, it'll go beyond medium charge, it will go on to full charge, and self-update there. If you do connect to the atomic clock, it'll tell you which atomic clock you've connected to and when it last connected to that. So again, quite useful, and you can adjust some more of the world time features here as well. You can adjust these so you can switch your home time and your world time rather than using the crown pull that I showed you earlier on. You can use it using the app. So yeah, a nice little bonus feature. I thought it was a bit of a gimmick on the previous G-Shock that I had with this, but it makes more sense here because the watch has got more features and I don't have access to the atomic clock, so it's pretty good for me. All right, we've already had a look at this one under macro, but let's have a look at it from a few different angles and let's have a look at it really up close and personal. Standard of finishing on this watch is as good as any other watch I have seen at or around the $1,000. Let me assure you, hands are nice and sharply finished, so are those multifaceted indices, and you can see there's a sunburst texture to the dial itself and all of those little subdials with concentric circle work on the dials themselves and the rings surrounding them. The Casio Oceanus logo is applied there in that shiny blue, blue very much being the Casio Oceanus theme colour. It's almost impossible to buy one without some blue on it somewhere, that blue being replicated on the tachymeter rehaut and also on the second hand. And despite the fact that the watch is less than 1 centimetre thick, there's a reasonable amount of depth to the dial as well because of those angled surrounds to the subdials and because of those multifaceted beveled indices and the tachymeter bezel with quite a deep recess for the date complication also. And the loom is actually pretty good as well. There is no loom on the second hand, but you do get plenty on the hour hand and the minute hand and those applied indices as well. Casio use their own proprietary loom. It's not outrageous, it's not like crazy dive watch standard, but it's perfectly decent for an all day kind of everyday all round watch, which is exactly what this one is trying to be. And if it is going to be an all day, everyday all-rounder, then it should be comfortable, and this thing is outrageously comfortable. Like I said, less than 75 grams, no sharp edges anywhere. It is just beautifully light and well balanced on wrist. You do genuinely forget that you are wearing it. Now, integrated bracelet, yeah, maybe it's a little bit 1990s, maybe it's a little bit 1970s. The looks are not going to be to everyone's taste. I appreciate that. They will be featuring in the Moans and Niggles section, but I do have a bit of a history of integrated bracelet watches of this size myself. My pre-bond Omega Seamaster 200 that I beat to death over the course of a decade has a very similar look and feel on wrist to the Casio Oceanus, to be honest. This one's a bit heavier, about 30 grams heavier, but yeah, very similar size overall. In terms of legibility, well, the glass is sensational. As I showed you earlier on, it looks great from above as well, but you know, there's a lot going on here. Silver surrounds to the indices, the high polished silver hands, the colour, the tachymeter bezel, those little subdial surrounds. So yeah, perhaps not the most clean and legible watch, but the glass certainly helps. And again, back outside natural light, that glass just about vanishes and you can see the depth. It's amazing how much visual depth they've managed to get from a watch that is actually so slim. You can also see the strong sunburst effect from the main dial and from those little subdials as well from this angle. On wrist again, super comfy, super slim, super light. Definitely made for mid-ranking Japanese salarymen, this one, and it will fit them beautifully, I'm sure. But what are my moans and niggles then? What am I going to complain about this $1,000 Casio Oceanus? Well, mid-ranking salaryman, is that who really should be buying these watches instead of me? It's glitzy enough and glamorous enough that it wouldn't look out of place in a Ginza nightclub after midnight, that's for sure. It's about as far away from the retro three-hand dive watches that I normally go for as is possible, but hey, it's okay to push the boat out once in a while. I'm just going to have to get used to this one popping light in a way that some of my other watches don't. The crown is tiny. Just as well you don't have to operate it all that often then, isn't it? And as I showed you earlier on, you know, it can do certain things, but you're probably not going to bother pulling that crown out, putting it into stopwatch mode, etc, etc. It's probably going to be easier to get your phone out and do the stopwatch on your phone. So some of the features are not particularly user-friendly. Once you set it though, you can pretty much forget it. It will automatically update the time on your phone or the atomic clock, and I do like that little switcheroo between the normal 3 hands and your second time zone. Integrated bracelet, again, that look is not going to be for everyone. It means you're not going to be swapping that out for some leather at the weekend or some rubber. Not that this watch would have looked particularly good on either of those things. So yeah, the looks are not going to be to everyone's taste, I'm sure. Where does that leave me with this watch? Well, $1,000 Casio, no problem at all. I put enough stock in Casio as a brand that I don't mind spending big money, or the thought of spending big money on a Casio. I'm happy to have that name on my wrist, and I'm happy to have it on my wrist at any price. I think the finishing is outstanding, everything looks sharp, and it does plenty more than you would expect from a standard quartz 3-hander. So yeah, I don't think the price is outrageous at all for what they're offering. Plus you get exclusivity because these watches are not readily available outside Japan. You really have to put some effort in to get one. Probably the thing that I'm most unsure about at this stage personally is the size. I reckon it might just be a little bit too small, or perhaps that should be the dial is a little bit busy. They do other models, lesser models in the range which are 42s or 43s. Maybe I should have gone for one of those, but I'll see how I go with this one over the long term. Certainly no hasty decisions for me. I'm going to keep this one for a while, see how it goes. It is the most accurate watch in my collection. It is going to be the one that sits in the corner, and it is going to be the one that I set all of my other watches by. So there you have it. What an absolutely cracking Casio, and if you're a fan of the brand like I am, I have no hesitation in recommending their Oceanus line. If you don't quite have a grand to spend though, why not check out my 2 favourite budget Casios, the Casio Royale and the DW5600 G-Shock. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all.